on Hassan.
We can't take him in Iran.
He's not in Iran. Who do we send?
All right, lads, well, we're in position.
Bravo team offloads here. Alpha team stays on board to land downrange. This is capture or kill.
Ya son más de 10 años metiéndole y todavía sueno como nuevo. Balvin no tiene relevo, me sobra el dinero, el respeto y los huevos. Yo, cada movimiento que hago es luego otro nivel lo elevo. Tú sonaste, me pagaste y no lleva ni la mitad.
We're shifting! Watch the containers!
How the hell did Iran get their hands on this?
It's either Russia or us.
Anywhere I roam.
We need an army.
I can get us an army.
Free to speak my mind anywhere. And I'll redefine anywhere.
Mexican Special Forces, 141, they are your brothers now.
Where I lay my head is home there.
Weapons hard, vaqueros. Pre-order now and get early access to the open beta.
All of us want to make a difference. As veterans, we committed to protect our country. We served and sacrificed for the things that mattered most. Those experiences shaped our lives, even if it isn't always obvious to those around us. And now that we've served, our commitments have taken on a new meaning. We're husbands, wives, parents, friends, and neighbors, but sometimes we still feel alone. We forget that our biggest challenge can be to ask for support when we need it. The Veterans Crisis Line is here for all veterans, service members, and their loved ones. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Chat online at veteranscrisisline.net or text 838-255. It matters.
All right, welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis. I'm the host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubuzoo Network. You can find out more on hubuzoo.com. I want to say thank you to my supporters, Mark Holmes of Reaper Detailing and Power Washing, Joyce Asak of Asak Real Estate, my supporters, Super Savage Salad Dressing, Bottom Gun Coffee, and Cason Shaving Company. Now, this is a special moment. I'm going to get out of the frame here in a minute because I can't do this enough justice. I want to say thank you to David Danforth of the Veterans Brotherhood Motorcycle Club for introducing me to World War II veteran Castor Salemi, who's going to talk with me about his experience. Castor, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Thank you.
All right, sir. I just, it's a big moment for me being able to do this with you, and we met at their benefit ride. And David said, hey, I want you to talk to Castor. He's 100 years old. He's sharp as a tack, and he served in World War II. And I was like, I'm there. And I show up there, Castor. We're at the Portuguese Club in Bridgewater. And I see a man like yourself. You're playing with your iPhone and everything. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's 100 years old. First and foremost, what is your secret? Because I hope to look half as good as you when I get your age. Because I was born 50 years ago, and you were 50 years ago. This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, the best I can relate to that is that my family, which my mother and father came from Sicily, and I think it's the genes, because everyone in my family lived to a ripe old age. Most everyone lived beyond 90.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I suspect that our type of diet that we live on had a lot to do with it also. I call it the Mediterranean diet.
Nice, nice. So as I understand, your family came from, is Italy Sicily, or is it two separate things?
Say that again?
Is Italy Sicily?
No.
Okay.
Well, Sicily is part of Italy.
Okay, but it's its
Sicilians do not want to call themselves as Italians. They want to call themselves as Sicilians.
So, okay, so we will get this right. You're from Sicily. Your family comes over to the United States.
Yeah.
And settles here, right?
Yeah, my mother and father actually married in the United States. They came over singly.
Okay.
And they married in New York, and I was born. We were one of seven. I'm one of 7 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of us left by now. My sister is 5 years younger than I am.
So she's 95. So this was 1922 then. 1922.
1922, yes.
Right after the First World War.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we were born on Avenue A in Manhattan, which was then condemned area, and it was the people had to get out, and New York City Hospital was built there. Meantime, we moved to Queens. The borough of Queens is another part of New York, and from there, I went to school in Brooklyn, at Brooklyn Tech, which is a flagship school for New York.
Okay.
And I got a job then with Sylvania Corporation.
Like the light bulb company?
Yeah, but I was in a research laboratory.
Oh, wow.
We were doing research on many things, including appliances, TV. We even did government work.
This is amazing. This is amazing. So you do all this. Do you remember, I've always wanted to ask this to a World War II veteran, do you remember December 7th, Pearl Harbor, the attack?
Oh, yes, very definitely. It was a Sunday morning. I was at the local high school, and I was watching a basketball game when they announced it. And of course, the game stopped and everybody left. And it was difficult to imagine what was happening until we got the papers the next day and listened to the radio.
Now, had you joined the Army then, or did you join the Army?
No, I then got a job, and let's see, I got a job in war work as a machinist. And then and I also tried to enlist in the Navy.
You tried the Navy first?
I tried the Navy first. Unfortunately, they said, we don't want you, you're colorblind. Of course, most men are colorblind to an extent. And of course, the following year, they took anybody that could walk. And by that time, I couldn't get out of war work. And we are working for Sperry Corporation and make bomb sites. And then I was drafted. And I was drafted in January of 1943.
So you remember Pearl Harbor. The Navy said, no, we don't want you.
Yeah, that was in 42, I believe. Yes, it was in 42, and they said that. 43, they took anybody that could walk.
So you're like 21 then. Yeah. So young man, the Army took you, and what was that like?
Well, it was kind of a shock. They shipped us to a camp called Camp Maxey, Texas. It was in Texas. And I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere. And so we did our training in Texas, and then we went to did about a year almost, and then we went to California to ship out. And to Riverside, California.
Oh, yeah.
And got on a troop ship. I don't know how many troops it carried, but we did not have an escort. And we moved the ship, went down the coast of California, all the way down toward the equator. And then when we reached the equator, they headed west to New Guinea.
So you're going across the Pacific Ocean with zero escort.
Zero escort.
And the Japanese subs were sinking ships.
Yes.
So what was that like, knowing that somebody underwater...
Pretty scary.
Had to be scary.
It was scary. But the biggest part that I remember was it took 31 days before we saw land. From the time we left California, 31 days without seeing land. Just water. Unbelievable. I never realized how big the Pacific was.
Right. So you're going across Pacific, and where was the first place you stopped?
We didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, we went straight to New Guinea. As we approached New Guinea, as you could see, like a mountainous area, and it was all green. I said, oh, that looks great. Except that when we debarked, we got off, that green was what they call kunai grass, was about 10 feet high. So we had our bayonets and we were hacking away at the grass to make ourselves a camp for the night. And I also remember that a lot of the food we got was World War I food.
Get out.
Canned food, yep.
So they took the World War I food, boxed it up, and then put it back on ships for you all to eat.
No, when we were on land in New Guinea, they were feeding it. Fortunately, we had a good cook who could doctor the stuff up so he could eat it. But I remember opening some of those cans of bully beef, and I swear the palm trees would wilt from the odor.
Because that food was like 20 years old by then.
Yeah.
But
I think that most everything was going toward the European war at that time.
Yeah.
And so we trained in New Guinea for almost a year, preparing for the landing in the Philippines.
So you're training, or you're doing like going from the boat to the shore and pushing inwards?
No, we just found an area, a campsite, in a town called Finchhofen, which hardly was a town. I mean, made just a couple of buildings that I remember. But it was just an open area, and we just cut the grass down and made ourselves a campsite. And we practiced learning how to Well, of course, we had all our training on handling the 105 howitzers when we were in Texas, but we learned how to deal with the elements there, because then we ran into the rainy season. It was a rain for weeks.
Right.
Yeah, and everybody got pretty antsy at that time, and people would be bad. Colonel had us digging foxholes and things we didn't have to do, but just to keep us busy.
Right.
But we were all preparing for the invasion. That's what we did.
So you're in the middle of the jungle, right?
Yes.
Were there like bugs and snakes and stuff?
There were bugs, there were snakes and mosquitoes. And that's when MacArthur says, you will wear long sleeves and you will wear long pants.
Really?
Yep.
Did it work?
Yep, it worked well. It didn't stop them from getting malaria. No. Almost everybody got malaria.
Did you get malaria?
No, I did not. But I did contract a fungal disease, which is very common.
Oh, wow.
Also, that happens when moisture gets in areas under the armpits, in the crotch, on your hand, between your fingers, and things like that. So I did get that.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was saying then, even when we got on the ships to make the landing, many of those that made the landing were propped up because they had splints on, holding their arms up to give where they had the fungal diseases on their arms. But unfortunately, also, like I said, I was in charge of communications. We had our communications vehicle, which carried all the radios and the telephone equipment. As the ramp let down on the landing craft, the driver drove off and ran into a hole, and the whole thing sank. So we had to sit on the beach for 3 or 4 days until they gave us a whole new setup. And then we raced over toward Manila, but by that time Manila was already destroyed. And from there we headed straight north, and we battled our way all the way up from Manila to the north on the island of Luzon.
What was it like fighting the Japanese?
It was rarely that you ever saw them. I mean, we were 7 miles, being an artillery outfit, we were probably about 5 to 7 miles back of the front line. So we used to send off observers. Most of them were in these small little planes. Go up and observe, and we'd get the coordinates from them and we'd fire on them.
But you're doing all that. You're thousands of miles from home. What were you all thinking as you're going from island to island like that?
Well, we didn't go from island. As I said, we just landed in New Guinea, and then, yeah. It's not like the Marines who had to fight their way out there. They took the brunt of the casualties. We, by the time the end of the war came, we had lost about 10% of our men, which in a battery of 200 men, we lost about 20 men.
It's just, it's hard for me to imagine that or conceive that, because you were serving in the Philippines. Was the MacArthur time, right? Where the president took MacArthur away from the Philippines, right?
Well, he landed on a different island. Okay. But the main invasion to free the Philippines was done on the island of Luzon.
Okay.
Because that's where the capital of the Philippines is. And we fought our way up. We had some very serious battles all the way up.
He leaves. The president says you're going away. What was that like to you all when General MacArthur left?
Well, actually, at that time, we didn't know that.
Oh, really?
No, we never got that information. There was very little. First of all, we had no radio. We never. Whatever news we got, we had to come down from headquarters, and
That's just hard for me to understand because even
well,
I didn't serve in combat, but they knew where you were pretty much all the time.
yeah, we were. From the time we landed in the Philippines, yes, we were in combat.
But no one was telling you what was going on?
Only what we got from headquarters.
That's hard for me to imagine, but okay.
Well, yeah, you got to understand, we didn't have radios.
Yeah,
Today,
yeah.
everybody's got a radio or something in a hand. They know exactly what's going on. We did not. The FM radios that we had were useless. They didn't work in the jungles and in mountainous areas. I mean, there were areas that we had to fight. I remember going up. One of the biggest battles, we were held up. We couldn't advance because we had to go into this valley, and there was a mountain peak on either side of the valley. And every time we tried to go through the valley, they'd rain artillery down on us. So what they did was take a 90 millimeter cannon, a small one, took it apart, and they carried it hand up one mountain.
The Japanese took apart a 90 millimeter.
No, we did.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we carried one cannon up the mountain, and so we could see on the opposite mountain where their artillery was. And when they pulled out their artillery out of a cave, we fired in on them and silenced them. So we were able to move through the valley.
But still, I mean, I've seen those before, and I've seen the 105s. Those aren't like...
No, 105 is a big...
Right, it's a big...
Yeah. 90 is smaller.
Smaller, but still...
Much smaller.
To man carry that piece by...
Well, you get a whole bunch of guys, you can move mountains.
Okay, like a bunch of ants, all right.
Yeah.
You know, one of my fellow podcasters, friends, her name is Mistress Carrie. We were talking about you and this opportunity to talk with you, and I was saying, what should I ask Castor, because this is just a big moment. I'm 50 years younger than me. This happened almost 70 plus years ago in your life, and you're telling me like it's yesterday. And I'm paraphrasing here, but she was like, what kind of decisions, or what was the biggest decision you had to make while you were in the Philippines?
Well, one thing, I don't know about a decision, but one thing I learned is, and I learned a lot of this in training too, is you learned how to live with other men, and you learn how to respect them, because they were your backup. You had to trust everybody. So the decisions were, you never left anybody behind. You made sure you took care of them. So most of the decisions were made by the officers.
Right.
You never made your own decisions.
That's true then and true now. As the war wound down, I watched the movies, the John Wayne movies, and the Black Sheep Squadron with Pappy Boyington and all that. Yeah, that's what I had as a kid, right? And I watched the old wartime movies. What was the feeling like when you all started to realize that you might come home or win this thing?
When we might come home and what?
The war was won. America was winning.
Oh, actually, when I got news from headquarters that we had dropped an atom bomb, and none of us knew what an atom bomb was. We had no idea. So we waited anxiously until we got thinking when they said that the war was over. And then our job was to gather all the Japanese that we could and bring them down to Manila for repatriation.
I was going to ask you, how did the Filipinos take all this? Because
Oh, they hated the Japanese with a
Really?
vengeance. And an instance of that is as we were doing a repatriation, we'd load them onto boxcars and only men. I actually took a woman nurse down to Manila by jeep because they wouldn't let her ride in a boxcar full of men. But the train would stop an hour or 2 hours. The men would jump off and relieve themselves, and they'd hop back in again when the train whistle blew. They would not be left behind because the Filipinos will cut their heads off if they catch them.
really,
Yeah, absolutely. Because the Japanese were brutal to the Filipinos. And we didn't see many civilians at all during the war.
oh really?
They stayed away from any war activity.
Well, didn't the Japanese like build tunnels in the mountains and had underground bunkers and stuff?
They hid during the day. We rarely saw them during the day, mostly at night.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Most of our big battles were fought at night, not during the day. They'd hide in foxholes and wherever.
So this must have been stressful sometimes, trying just to stay alive or get some sleep and all the stuff you read about.
Well, we had an arrangement where we form a group of men surrounding the campsite, or rather the battery. Each battery had its own position, and we'd have soldiers posted all around at night. And of course, you also had the problem with wild animals coming in.
Yeah, tigers and snakes and
Well, big animals comes on. In fact, one time the Japanese gathered a herd of water buffalo
what?
and stampeded them toward us and overran our position with the wild buffalo.
So you know, your buddies and you are standing fire watch at night.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you see this herd of water buffaloes heading to you all.
Yeah.
What did your officers tell you to do?
Every man for himself.
You can't make this stuff up. This is just something else. Now,
Yeah, I got to tell you another story.
Yeah.
I said we trained in Texas, and before we left Texas to go to California, they issued us a new vehicle. It was a full track vehicle, very narrow track, carried 10 men and would tow a howitzer.
Okay.
Nice. We could race along the roads and train with that. Of course, when we got to the Philippines, we had to get rid of them. They could, the minute they got into soft ground or into the rice paddies, they sank in the mud, and that because of the narrow track, they couldn't get themselves out of the way. So we got to towing our howitzers with a jeep.
The good old Jeep.
With a jeep, we towed them, and they issued us new HD1 Caterpillar tractors, a very wide track, but very slow. So they catch up with us later in the day or the next day.
Yeah, because, like you said, the 105 is a big gun.
Yeah, a big gun. Yeah.
Well, that just goes to show that sometimes the guys in development don't know what the guy on the ground knows.
Yeah, if there were paved roads that we were on, it would have been fine. That didn't work.
Now, during all this, did you hear from your family? Were you getting letters or anything?
We got letters pretty much so, yeah. Sometimes we wouldn't get them for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden you get 2 or 3, you know. Food that they sent was, forget that. By the time we got it was moldy or...
Yeah, because the Well, it's 30 days to get to
Yeah.
New Guinea.
Well, besides that, they were probably sitting on a hold of a ship where it's hot as hell.
Right, right.
And even the cigarettes that they used to issue, that they were moldy. You couldn't smoke them. And some of the other stupid things I remember, they issued us chocolate, tropical chocolate, and it was great. You'd grind it up and put it in your cup and heat it up over over a fire. Trouble was, that stuff never melted. I don't know what the hell they made that chocolate out of.
So it was like a block?
It was a block, yeah. And you grind it, cut it up with your knife and put it in your cup, and hopefully you'd hope it would melt. Wouldn't melt.
I never did that with my MREs, ever. I think we had we didn't have
Well,
that.
you got to remember, this was the beginning of tropical war for us. We knew nothing about tropical war.
Right.
One of the biggest losses we had one night, where the Japanese would sit on the top of a mountain peak and sit on the other side of the peak and look down at us. They'd pull their guns up over the peak and fire on us, then pull back. It was dusk one night. They started raining down artillery on us, and one round landed in a foxhole that contained all our cooks. Killed them all at once. I think it's I don't remember how many there were, but I think it was at least 5 or 6.
Well, that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the loss of life, one thing, but people don't understand how important cooks are.
When you get around to land directly in a foxhole, there was no getting away from that.
Right. As you go through this, though, and you hear about the atom bomb going off, there was no doubt this is the right place for you to be. Did you ever doubt yourself?
No, never. No.
Sometimes,
we never thought about when the war was going to end, though. That never, just day to day, you took it as it came.
Well, it's just we're seeing in Ukraine where sometimes the different soldiers are like, I don't know why I'm even here, and it doesn't seem that way reading about your story.
Well, we knew the brutality of the Japanese, what they were doing to the Filipinos, and so there was no doubt why we were there.
What was coming home like?
That's a whole another story.
Okay.
As I told you, I had got a tropical disease, fungus, and I was in. It got so bad I couldn't walk. I had it all over my feet and my hands. So they brought me down to Manila. I was in a hospital in Manila, and then I got sent home on a hospital ship, which was a kind of a small ship, flat bottom, twin screw. Never meant for ocean use, I'm sure. And because the Philippines are 1,000 islands, and during the night we zigzagged amongst all these islands out into the open ocean, and we hit the rear end of a typhoon. And this ship was never meant for that. And it would 40-foot waves was not, you couldn't see the top of them. And
how long is this ship? Just like a small, 30, 40 foot?
Oh no, it was probably maybe 200 foot.
Okay, so small though still.
It was a small, about 300 foot. I don't remember. All I remember is that patients that could walk were in the front of the ship and the rear of the ship. Those that couldn't walk were in the center. But everybody got sick. The doctors were sick. The nurses were sick. I got sick. I don't think I got out of bed for 12 days. I was so sick. Going up and down like a yo-yo.
Well, 40 feet is like a 4-story, 5-story building.
You couldn't see the top. You couldn't see the top of the waves. We'd climb up like a mountain, just chug our way up to the top and roll down like a roller coaster down the other side.
That's crazy.
I won't, to this day, I won't go on a ship in the ocean.
You're done.
I'm done. People want me to go on these ships for a vacation. No way. No way. I'm not. I won't go on the ocean.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, how long were you on this ship? Like a month or so?
Well, coming back, we did it in I think, 18 days.
So for the majority of your trip, you're sick and in a storm.
Yep.
What happens when you touch American soil for the first time?
You mean coming back?
Coming back, yeah.
Oh, that was a beauty. That was a wonderful.
Yeah?
And it was almost, not quite Christmas, the day before Christmas when we landed. And they brought us into this open area, and they had all kinds of food laid out for us and drinks. And I hadn't tasted fresh milk in, 3 years? So I grabbed a bottle of what I thought was milk, and of course it was buttermilk, and I almost threw up right there. But then I was invited to, almost everybody was invited to private homes for Christmas.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I did not get to a private home, but I went to a private hall where they had music and dancing and bringing in the New Year.
Now, did you have a girlfriend or wife during the war, or did you get married afterwards?
No, there were no civilians.
Okay.
As I said, we never ran across civilians.
Okay.
So, and then they put me on a hospital train and went straight to West Virginia, Greenbrier.
Okay.
And we was there in the hospital for a couple of days, which, interestingly enough, had all German nurses that were actually prisoners of war that were there, acting as nurses.
So they brought German nurses who were prisoners?
No, they were men.
They were men? Oh, wow.
Yeah. They must have been prisoners of war that were working for the U.S. Army.
Get out.
Yeah, at the Greenbrier.
They could
Today you couldn't afford to go to Greenbrier.
This is just unbelievable. So you come from the West Coast to West Virginia. You're being
in a
taken,
hospital train.
I
I lay in a cot and I had to sleep in a bed all day for 2 days. So 2 or 3 days it took to cross the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you in West Virginia for?
About 3 or 4 days. Then I went home, and I spent a week at home, and then I was discharged from there.
What was it like coming home? It's been 3 years. You haven't seen your friends or family.
It was very strange. The thing we missed most of all was camaraderie. You went home and you missed being with a bunch of guys.
Your boys, your crew, your squad, yeah.
And got to the point where we'd even if we didn't know each other, we gathered at the local pub or Lego bar, and just to be with somebody and talk.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny in a way. That's the same thing that a lot of people, including myself, felt when I got out. There was the people that you had worked with, and you'd take a bullet for them, and
yes,
they would for you, were gone.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I hated that. I missed that.
But were you part of the VFW after World War II and all that?
I think I joined the VFW and the American Legion, but I wasn't active in it at that time. I became very active when I moved up here to Massachusetts. I belonged to the Disabled American Veterans, I became commander. I'm now I'm still at the DAB, and I'm also a member of the American Legion. And I'm also a part of the advisory group at Town Veterans Office.
So it's 100 years old, and you are still serving.
Oh, yes. I'm very active in the Veterans Affairs.
Now, why is that? Some veterans are like, okay, I served and I'm done. Why do you continue to serve?
You know, I just need to be with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
In fact, I had my 100th birthday party, and I had a wonderful. And people ask me, "What can we give you?" I says, "If I don't have it by 100, I don't need it." So I said, "If you want to give something, make a contribution to the veterans that are needy." And I got a large contribution from people to give to the Veterans Office, and who distributes it to those needy veterans.
Again, I'm 50 years old. You were 50 when I was born. I want to be you when I'm 100, Castor. Well, it just goes to show you. Some people like, what can I do, or how can I help? You know, or I'm too old. I'm like, no, you're not too old. You're not too old. You're not too old at all.
Oh, I can't sit still and. No.
Can't do it?
No.
Got to keep moving?
I got to keep moving. That's an old saying of mine. Keep moving or they'll bury you.
I remember that one. Well, it's just, again, you know, David Danforth from the Veterans Brotherhood approached me about, you know, talking with you. And like I said, I came down there and we're talking before the motorcycle ride. And it was just like, wow. I mean, so many things had to happen to make this happen. I feel really honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I enjoy being with that. By the way, that motorcycle group was a great bunch of guys. They contribute a lot to, like I say, I'm part of the veterans organizations. And I also am a member of NA, North Attleboro Friends of the Veterans, NAVF, yeah.
Okay.
Which is a separate corporation, which I'm part of the members. And we collect funds, and usually they're contributed by local people, these funds. And we put on a picnic for the veterans and their families every 4th of July. And we also do a Christmas party every 4th of July. I mean, every Christmas. And that motorcycle group pays for all the food for our picnic area on 4th of July.
Well, that's the thing, talking with David, you know, your service, you know, makes what he does for veterans, inspires him. I mean, your service, your example inspires me. I'm like, sometimes I feel old. I'm like, I can't say that anymore, Castor. I can't say that anymore. I'm like, a 100-year-old man is running circles around me.
Look at it this way. I say, hey, you're still a young guy.
Oh! It's just, it's really amazing. As you've done all this with veterans and for veterans, for some people long ago till now, what do you say to veterans who are trying to find their way after they've served, and they're trying to deal with being alone? What's the best way to deal with that?
You know, my whole thing is, if you're not a social person, you're going to be left in the cold. You've got to learn how to deal with people, how to learn to be friends with people, even if you don't like them. Just, you can talk to them, you can Be a talking friend,
Sure.
if you would.
Well,
But
I
being
learned,
alone is the worst thing you can do.
don't be alone.
But I found that out. And, that's why I like to be with veterans. I work for them. I'd be happy to be with them.
Well, this is amazing. So I'm going to lean down here again because this is the man right here. Actually, let me get over here. So this is the truth. I'm 50. Mr. Castor here is 100. So he was 50 when I was born, and we're talking here. He served in World War II. We're both veterans, and it's just been an honor. It's been a real honor being able
Well,
to
it's been my pleasure to be with you and talk to you.
Well, I'll definitely have to come down and check out some of your events, and this won't be the last time we see each other. And I'm
Well, if
shaking
you're
my-
around at Christmas time and like to spend Christmas with us, we'll be happy to have you.
We'll make that happen. I'll even sing a Christmas carol for you.
There you go. Oh, that's wonderful.
That's a promise. That's a promise. Well, I'm Travis with Oscar Mike Radio. I'm with Castor Salemi, World War II veteran, Army veteran, and it's just been a great moment. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say this: those Marines took the brunt of it.
They did.
They did. When I saw that island hopping that the Marines did, my heart bled for them guys.
Well, okay, so because I've never had anybody tell me what that was like. I've seen the pictures of them hauling the machine guns and the jeeps just in mud up to the hood,
Yeah.
and they're still having to go there, and they had to because the Japanese were so embedded in the island.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And they were told to fight to the death, and the Japanese wouldn't surrender.
See, by the time we reached the Philippines, they had to realize, I think at that point, they had already lost the war. So they were fighting a battle just to stay alive at that time. And they just destroyed everything as they backed up.
Did you agree with the bomb being dropped? Would it have taken longer?
That's been a tough thing for me.
Really?
Yeah. I realize that it probably saved many lives, American lives, but I also realized how many innocent people were killed. And
Yeah.
that's hard to come say yes, one way or the other.
Right.
It's a question I always have in my mind.
It certainly was. I mean, because the Marine Corps and the Army were so entrenched trying to get to the mainland Japan.
Yeah, my heart goes out for the thousands that were killed who had nothing to do with the way the country was run. They're just innocent people.
Right? Had no idea what was going to go on.
Yeah, well, they did the same thing in Germany when they firebombed, what was it, that city? Killed thousands.
It was something, and it's a war is fought differently now. I don't know if we'd ever wage war like that again.
But today it's even worse.
It is.
Yeah.
In what way?
Because they got weapons now that are much more destructive than the ones we had.
Yeah.
Even the atom bombs that they're making today are twice as powerful, or more than twice as powerful. They've been talking about using hydrogen bombs, which just blows my mind.
I learned from my grandfather, from my time in the service, that everybody said World War I was supposed to be the last war. And then World War II was supposed to be it. Do you ever think we'll get to a time where there's no war?
No.
No?
No, as long as you got idiots like Putin.
How, in your mind then, how brave the people of Ukraine fighting for their country?
I think they're very brave, and unfortunately, I don't know that they're going to win.
It's hard, right? If they can't...
And what do they got left? Their country is being totally destroyed.
It just seems now that he's just attacking to attack it.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to end. Very, very, very sad for those people.
It is sad, and I think you're right. I think, we're never going to get to a point where we don't have some kind of conflict.
No. As long as we have people that are going to have a say over what happens to a country like Putin, what do you do? What can you do? I mean, my thought was, why don't we drop a couple of bombs on him instead of him dropping all the ones on the Ukraine? But you never know. An idiot like him, he may decide to use an atom bomb.
Right.
And then we got another situation.
You've got him, you've got Kim Jong in North Korea. There's some crazy people out there. I just, again, I'm just getting chills, talking with you like this. There's just so much knowledge here. I can't wait to see you again. I'll close like this. Do you ever think back to your buddies you served with in the Philippines?
Did I ever what?
Do you ever think back to the buddies you served with in the Philippines?
Oh, yeah. I lost the last one of my buddies 2 years ago. There's none left. I had made friends with a Marine who was a lot younger than I was, and he just passed away a year ago. So really, that's the trouble with getting old. You have no more friends. So the friends I have are those young people that I'm working with or try to be with.
Well, hopefully you have a lot of those because...
Yeah, I do. I think the evidence of 100 people at my birthday party was a good evidence.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
David told me he went there and had a great time, and it was just awesome. Just awesome. Well, again, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a real honor.
And I'm very impressed that you were a Marine.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You not were a Marine, but you are a Marine. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, I'm not going to make a big deal of it, but...
you should.
I should?
Yes, you should be proud of that.
I am proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, again, I'm with Caster Salemi, the man that he is a legend. And
a legend?
Yeah, you're a legend.
Ah.
Absolutely. So, I'll be talking to you, and
please, I wish you would keep in contact.
I'm going to.
Yeah, I'd like that.
All right. I'm going to, I guess I'm singing it in Attleboro for Christmas, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll put it down.
Very good.
Well, if you say in Oscar Mike Radio, we are mission flight. This has been an amazing experience, and we'll be back on soon. Take care. I want to thank you for joining me and watching Oscar Mike Radio. Now go to OscarMikeRadio.com and click Shop to check out all the cool merchandise from Authentically American. All proceeds go to veteran service organizations. We are Mission in Flight.